All right, what is good? What is happening? How is everybody doing today? My name is Chuck, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today, fellas, what we're going to be jumping into is we're going to be going over my top 5 best SMGs for you guys here to use in Warzone. This is just going to go over and give you guys the best options for close range combat. Obviously, some shotguns can be really good, but SMGs more or less are going to be the best thing for you guys to use here at those close ranges. So that being said, if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a like. Also, subscribe if you're brand new. Turn on those post notifications. We'd love to reach 800,000 subscribers. With that being said, let's jump into it. Okay, so hopping to this first, the first thing we're going to be taking a look at is going to be the Cold War MP5. This thing is unbelievably amazing still here in Warzone. I tried to do a whole bunch of stuff with the Cold War, the Modern Warfare weapons to kind of make them more in line here with the Vanguard weapons, but to be honest with you guys, a lot of the stuff is still going to be unbelievably amazing. So let's jump into the setup here for this. First thing is in the muzzle category is going to be the agency suppressor, sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, of course, effective damage range. You can't go wrong with this attachment. It's going to be amazing. At that, skip the barrel, go to the underbarrel section. What we're going to do is we're going to throw on the bruiser grip here. This is going to help out with our overall movement. I absolutely love the bruiser grip on this gun, so I'd highly suggest you guys run the bruiser grip on this. After that, we're gonna go to the laser section and we're gonna go throw on the Tiger Team Spotlight for the increased movement speed and aim walking movement speed. You realistically can't go wrong with this thing. I mean, it's just so unbelievably good to use the Tiger Team and the bruiser grip combination on the Cold War MP5. I'd recommend this pretty much like 10 times out of 10, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. I think I covered everything right there, but I definitely recommend to go over and use this Tiger Team Spotlight. After that, in the magazine section, we have a little bit of liberty to be able to use what we like. I mean, obviously, there's this 40-round magazine, which looks pretty cool for this variant, but we're not going to be using the 40-round drum. What you guys can use here is going to be the Stenag 50-round drum, or you can use the Salvo 50-round fast mag. It just kind of is a little bit personal preference. I've used both of them, to be honest with you. I don't find there's going to be that much of a disadvantage to using the Salvo 50-round fast mag in terms of your ADS time in comparison to the 50-round drum, but I have noticed a little bit, so I feel like I'm a tad bit more agile when I use the Stenag 50-round drum. So I definitely just recommend to go ahead and use this thing on this, unless you for whatever reason really just would prefer to use a Salvo 50-round fast mag. You guys can definitely do that, but I'd recommend pretty much only one of the two. And then for our last attachment, we're going to go to the stock section. We're going to throw on the Raider stock for the increased ADS fire move speed, aim walking movement speed, and sprint to fire time. This is a pretty classic tried and true MP5 setup. Hope you guys do enjoy this one. Absolutely love the Cold War MP5. I think this thing is amazing. Definitely go ahead and try it out. It's a top tier SMG. Okay, so now let's spice it up here and give you guys a setup for a Vanguard SMG, which is gonna be the MP40. This is pretty much one of the only Vanguard SMGs right now that's really worth using, that's super competitive. That's just because it has, you know, some real good attachments that you can make it, you know, be pretty solid. So let's actually hop into this thing here first, because we have 10 attachments to go over instead of like 5. So the first thing on this is going to be the Mercury silencer. You can either run that, or I'd recommend running the recoil booster. Pretty much one of the two. I've used the recoil booster here a good amount of times, though. What you're going to be doing, though, is you're going to be on the radar. So it's one of those things that you just kind of have to understand that you are going to be on the radar if you don't happen to have a silencer, though. So what I would suggest either is to run the Mercury silencer here, even though this is going to decrease your damage range. We're not really trying to be that good at, you know, damage range. It's not going to be that big of a deal since this is really close quarters combat. So I just recommend either running the recoil or the Mercury. But for this build here, we're going to go with the recoil booster. And now let's move on to the barrel section. We're going to go throw on the top barrel here, which is the Krausnik 317mm04B barrel. This is going to help us just pretty much make our gun more controllable, which is definitely good. And I would recommend you guys to do that over any of these other barrels in here. After that, we're going to go to the underbarrel section, and we're going to throw on the SG98 compact here for aim walking movement speed. Absolutely love using this thing on this because it really doesn't have much recoil. I'd rather increase my movement speed and just, you know, overall, you know, movement ability of this gun. So that's the reason we're in the compact on this thing. Now in the magazine section, we're on the 7.62 Gorenko 40-round magazine, 45-round magazine, my bad. And even though this does decrease your damage, bullet penetration, bullet velocity, and range, this is still going to be the best, you know, magazine attachment for you guys to run. I will just say, like, I've tried out all these things. I've gone through all my friends that tried out all these things, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, I mean, the most meta setup to run on this, you know, magazine wise, is going to be this. And this is going to make your gun unbelievably lethal, and it's going to make it so that obviously that you have very little recoil, if any, and a super high fire rate, which is going to come in incredibly useful, as that is like pretty much more of a benefit than it is a downside to lose some of that damage. So I'd recommend running this pretty much exclusively. Now after that, though, in the ammunition side of things, we're going to go throw on the incendiary. These are incredibly annoying right now in Warzone, and I would just recommend to run it just because it's like, I mean, you know, until they patch it more or less or something like that, I just recommend to run the incendiary. pretty much when you shoot somebody, no one's going to be able to run away and plate up on you if they're burning, which is usually speaking the thing. Sometimes you even may get a trade on a down or something like that, just because, you know, you're going to have the incendiary damage and it will just get them a little bit, take a few of their health points off. So it just recommends run the incendiary on this thing. Now in the rear grip section, we're going to go throw on the fabric grip here for ADS speed, sprint to fire speed, and hip fire accuracy. I like this thing, gives me a little bit more agility. I mean, obviously you lose a little bit of accuracy, but that's okay. We're not really too focused on that. And then now into the optic section, what we're going to do is you guys can either run a couple of things. You can run either the slate reflector, the NIDAR model. Pretty much both of those are going to be, you know, mutually exclusive. Like you can run one or the other, it doesn't really matter. But then what I prefer to run is actually the large iron sights, and because this gives me, you know, increase in ADS speed, and obviously, I mean, it's just, you know, the iron sight, I think it works perfectly fine. I really don't use a sight on a majority of my SMGs anyways, so I just actually kind of prefer to run the iron sights on this gun, as it gives me a benefit as opposed to just using a red dot. Though you're really not going to notice too much of a difference if you decide to use the red dot over the Krausnick iron sights. It's one of those things that you guys can get a little bit more ADS speed if you happen to use this. Then stock section, we're going to go use the remove stock here for the increased hip fire accuracy and movement speed. Definitely love this thing. I mean, I love using the remove stock on here. It makes me feel super fast and just like super agile. And then for our perks, what we're going to do is we're going to throw on steady here for our increased ADS fire move speed. Once again, trying to be able to, you know, jump and dance around on people, so that steady is going to be perfect. And then after that, in perk 2, we're going to go throw on quick here, which is going to increase our sprint speed, which is pretty much something you always want on an SMG, because you're most likely whipping out your SMG in different, you know, locations. Even if you're not trying to get into a combat engagement with it, you're using it to move around a little bit faster. So that's what quick is going to do. This is my full setup here. Hope you guys do enjoy this one. Probably like the best, you know, Vanguard SMG out right now, so you guys should 100% try this setup. Now we're gonna go through and we're gonna give you guys another SMG build here for a Cold War SMG, and this is gonna be the Cold War PPSH, not the Vanguard PPSH, but the Cold War version. I'd say this one is going to be better than the Vanguard one by a mile. It's just got a lot more mobility to it. It's also got a lot more manageable recoil. They kind of nerfed the Vanguard PPSH when they didn't really need to. It wasn't OP, but nonetheless, we still got another version of the PPSH, which is going to be this one. So first thing in here in the muzzle category, we're going to throw on the sound suppressor instead of the groove suppressor here. And just because this gun has a little bit of like almost a tad bit of a delay, it seems like, on the fire. I don't really know what's the correct terminology for it, but overall the sound suppressor kind of eliminates whatever, you know, sort of delay there would be. And to be honest with you guys, because this doesn't kill the absolute fastest out of all the SMGs, having that increased ADS speed, bullet velocity, and sprint to fire speed can definitely really help you out in those situations. And I've been winning a significant amount of my gunfights using the sound suppressor on this gun, so that's awesome. Next up in the barrel section, we're gonna go throw on the Task Force barrel here, and I actually think it's pretty cool when you throw on the loud pipe variant onto the Night Raid. So I have the Night Raid as my base, but for whatever reason, now if you throw on the loud pipe variant of this barrel, it actually makes this thing glow incredibly, you know, bright, which is pretty neat. So I definitely recommend just to go ahead and run that. After that, in the laser section though, we're gonna go in there and we're gonna run the Tiger Team Spotlight here for increased movement speed and aim walking movement speed. That's what the Tiger Team is incredibly useful for. I mean, obviously people are gonna be able to see you ever so slightly, but I've never ever found that to be kind of like a downside with the Tiger Team, that people can like see you. It just really doesn't matter, to be honest with you. So just kind of run the Tiger Team on this thing. After that, go to the magazine section. We're gonna throw on the base 55 round drum magazine. There's no real reason to make this any more so than it is. I mean, there's no reason to run a Spetsnaz 71 round drum. That's just a little bit too much, and you're going to be slowing yourself down a heck of a lot. And also the 50 round fast mag, I never find this to be beneficial because the 55 round drum reloads incredibly fast anyways. So I just go ahead and use the 55 round drum, kind of call it a day here. You're not going to really lose any ADS speed, which is a huge bonus. So that's the reason we're going to be using that. And for our final attachment, we're going to go to the stock section and we're going to throw on the Raider stock. Though I will say what you guys can do is throw on the Spetsnaz PKM stock, and it's going to be kind of cool if you throw on the loud pipe variant here. This will once again pretty much make the entire gun glow, and I don't think this makes it any harder to use, but I mean, you're just going to be like really sliding around quite a bit because you're going to be able to use, you know, the ADS firing move speed, aim walking movement speed, and ADS firing move speed, as opposed to the Raider stock gives you some sprint to fire time. I personally have a little bit sprint to fire time. That's like kind of my thing. I'd rather have this over a little bit more movement, as I feel like the Tiger Team and everything else gives me enough. So it's just, you guys could probably run one of the two, and you really can't go too wrong with really either or. It's a little more personal preference, but for me, the Raider stock is in my personal preference here, and you guys can customize it either way. You know, you can't really get anything out of the blast chamber version of this gun. But anyways, that's gonna be my full setup here for the PPSH. Absolutely love this thing. I think it is amazing, and it's something I've been really enjoying using here recently, so go and try this one out. I don't think it'd be a top 5 if I didn't show you guys a setup here for the OTS-9, just because this is pretty much like the most meta SMG out right now. Apart from that and the Cold War MP5, I mean, these are probably like the top 2 SMGs in the game still, even after any type of nerf whatsoever. So first thing in here, we're gonna keep this pretty brief. We're gonna go for the muzzle, the GRU suppressor. You guys already know what the GRU does. You need this specifically on this gun because the recoil control and everything aspect of this, the vertical recoil can get a little bit crazy on this gun, so you guys specifically need to run the GRU. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. After that, the barrel section, the task force barrel here. Obviously this is gonna be the most effective one, but it will negatively affect your vertical and horizontal recoil. So that's why you definitely need to run the GRU. There's just no way around it. So just always run the task force on this along with the GRU suppressor. After that, skip the underbarrel, go to the magazine. We're gonna run the 40 round fast mag on here. There's no reason to ever run the Spetsnaz 40 round magazine. It just doesn't make sense because the reload speed on it is incredibly chalked. It's just really bad. So I'd recommend run the 40 round fast mag exclusively. I don't run anything else on this ever, and I see some people try to do it and I just don't really ever get the purpose behind it. So always run the 40 round fast mag. Now go to the rear grip section, and we're gonna throw on the serpent wrap here for increased ADS time, as that is going to be, you know, the best thing you guys can run on this in the rear grip section. And then finish this off this whole build here. We're going to go to the stock section and run the KGB skeletal stock, 80s fire move speed, aim, walking movement speed, and sprint to fire time. Overall, pretty quick build here on the OTS. Don't need to explain too much on this gun because, you know, it's a pretty tried and true setup here, and it's been around for a while. So go ahead and give this one a shot here. I mean, obviously, if you're trying to use something else, I mean, kudos to you, but this is still probably going to be the top dog SMG in Warzone. All right, so let's jump into a build here for our final gun with the Milano 821. I don't think this thing gets enough love, as it is still a really good SMG that not that many people really use, and I would say that you guys should definitely be using it, as it just kind of flies a little bit under the radar, but it's still unbelievably good. So first thing in the muzzle category, we're gonna go with the sound suppressor here on this, not the agency. We need to give this thing a little bit of the boost here in that sort of like mobility category, and of course that bullet velocity. So I definitely say the sound suppressor is going to be good here. We're trying to compete with guns like, you know, the OTS-9, the, you know, the Cold War MP5, so on and so forth, and of course that MP40 from Vanguard. So the sound suppressor here is going to be the way to go. After that, in the barrel section, we're on the 10.6 task force barrel, effective damage range, bullet velocity, of course strafe speed. This is like a tried and true setup here for this gun. You guys should always be running this on this gun. Now in the underbarrel section, we're skipping that. We're going to go to the magazine, and we're going to throw on the the Stanag 55 round drum magazine. There's no reason to run the Salvo 55 round fast mag. It just doesn't make sense. It chalks your ADS speed a little bit too much, and overall the reload speed on this gun is really not all that bad. So I just definitely recommend running the Stanag 55 round drum magazine on this gun. Now in the rear grip section, we're going to go through here and we're going to add on the serpent wrap for increased ADS speed. I absolutely love this. I mean, increase ADS time, whatever you want to call it, speed, time, it doesn't really matter. Serpent's going to be super beneficial on this gun, so you guys can definitely do that. Or if you really want to, you can go to the laser section, maybe throw on the Tiger Team Spotlight, as that's going to be really good as well. But it just kind of comes down to, you know, what do you want to have, a little bit more aim, walking, movement speed, or a little bit better ADS time. It's just one of those things. So for me though, it's going to be personally the rear grip section, the serpent wrap. And then to finish off this whole build here in the stock section, we go through on the Raider stock. So you can also run the SAS combat stock, and that's gonna be pretty good as well, but I've definitely had a little bit better success running the Raider stock. This is gonna be a banger Milano build here. Definitely go and try this one out. Absolutely love it. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it a like, subscribe if you're brand new, and just remember to watch what cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.